Welcome back to the Ready to Roll podcast, episode 5. And this week I'm joined by Dr. Christle. And we talk all things Jiujitsu competitions, the class of drugs known as GLP1's, which were originally invented to help with type 2 diabetes. You may be familiar with Ozempic. They're now being widely used to help with fat loss. We're going to talk about training as a smaller person, as well as some awesome tips for recovery. So tune in. I hope you enjoy it. And as always, even if you share this with one person, it helps me out a bunch. So I appreciate you and enjoy. Right. So welcome, Dr. Christle. Thank you so much, honestly, for joining. I'm very excited to chat with you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. I had listened to the other episodes of the podcast, and so I was like, oh, boy, I feel like, wow, so honored.
Well, I also feel honored. So let's just be honored together.
Awesome.
So first of all, to all of my, who knows how many, but listeners, this is Dr. Christle, and very excited to have a chat with you today. But if you want to start off just by introducing yourself and what you do.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Christle. I am a sports medicine, family medicine trained physician. I have a private telemedicine practice, and I also cover currently US figure skating a couple times a year. And I also work for RP Strength, which is a company that specializes in diet, nutrition, training for all different types of athletes, recreational ones, professional, the whole spectrum of people. Yeah. And mainly my job over there, a couple things. I'm working on some educational projects, as well as I work on the back end for YouTube. So I do a lot of the day-to-day operations to help keep that YouTube, train moving.
Yeah, nice. Oh, I need one of you on my team. That sounds awesome. Yeah, I've seen a little bit of RP Strength. It looks so cool. Yeah, I really love it. I obviously I have my own app. So I do my own training and stuff, but I love the look of that. And I've listened to a couple of podcasts with you and Dr. Mike as well. Yeah, they're awesome. It's so cool. And so you've also run your own telemedicine. What am I trying to say here? Telehealth? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, well, private practice. So sometimes I see people who are kind of struggling with, injuries, also, basic medical needs and stuff like that. Also talking about lifestyle, diet, getting exercise, so building habits. So I see, people for regular medical stuff who just need general maintenance stuff, people with complex medical problems. And then I also see athletes. And so it's a wide variety of things that and that's what I love about family medicine is you never know what's going to be walking in the door. It could be a baby. It could be, an 80-year-old person. You just never know.
Man, you're so busy. That's just one of the things that you do. And I feel like all of the things that you do are a job in themselves.
Yeah. So definitely there's a percentage scale. I'm not full-time doing physician work, but I feel like when I do that, I think the nice thing is to be able to take a step back and really give people my full attention versus feeling like I'm in the rat race of, oh my God, I have 15 minutes. I have to get all this stuff done. And then I have to push you out the door because I have to get as many bodies as possible inside a clinic so I can make money. I did not like that model at all.
Yeah, I often think about that. And then I'm, every time if you need to go to the doctor and there's always a bit of a wait, and I'm not surprised because I'm like, how on earth can you get all of that done in a 15-minute slot? I don't understand.
Yeah, it doesn't. And then you just run into your lunch break and then it just runs afterwards.
Yeah. And I mean, the people that are doctors are generally people that care a lot as well, right? So you don't just want to be like, all right, let's just get to the nitty gritty. Tell me what's your problem. I'll tell you the solution. Out you go. Because it's not that black and white.
No, nothing's ever really black and white in medicine. So it was tough.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. It sounds very exciting. Sounds like you're a busy gal.
Yeah, a little bit here and there. But
well, I appreciate you making the time for this. That's amazing. So you also do jiu-jitsu though. How
do.
long have you been training jiu-jitsu for?
So great question. I mean, I guess if we're technically speaking, I guess since about July of 2021, and I'm old enough that like math sometimes like is still a little hard.
I'm also old enough, don't worry.
So, a little over 3 years, but when I started, I was sort of I had graduated a fellowship, finally done with medical training. It was COVID. And it was quite a tough year. So I was, we moved to Michigan. I'm 4'11" and I was about 190 pounds at the time. So I feel like the first like 2 years of that 3-year stint was really kind of moving because
Yeah.
my body just was completely different, mobility wise, strength wise,
100%.
cardiovascular wise, like, so I would say about a year of like at this sort of size and,
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. I think we actually started around the same time. I feel like I started maybe April 2021 or something. So roundabout
Oh,
same.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. So how has your journey kind of progressed since then? And since I guess you've lost some weight since then as well.
Yeah. It has definitely progressed in the sense of just, man, feel like just I was not getting great sleep. I was snoring a lot. So being able to now get much better sleep, not snoring, because I don't have the extra weight. The other things that have sort of progressed is just finding different training partners. And then also, I think one of the big things that happened for me this year was I actually hired our colleague friend who is also happens to be a pro MMA fighter and a brown belt. He is actually relocated to our area in Michigan and has actually sort of taken on my kind of jiu-jitsu development. So So it's I feel really blessed. I realize that like, this is not kind of the typical, setup because we have the school, I guess, that I sort of train out of is the same school that my husband, Mike, trained out of before we had moved in Philadelphia. So the Jiu-Jitsu company in Philadelphia.
Oh, yep. Okay.
And I really loved their approach. And I kind of just didn't want to let go of that. So Josh had taken me on as sort of a remote client and kind of helped me, especially in the first 2 years of my development, kind of give me a place to sort of organize my development, so to speak. And it was just very simple drills and positional drills that I was, kind of trying to work with as I was learning the language, learning just to even move my body. But I think knowing that somebody had actually posted this on Threads earlier, like, why do you choose the school that you do? And I remember what did it for me was I was walking past and on the whiteboard was a very sort of, drawn out kind of flow chart diagram of like, here, here's what you can expect, different positions, but just knowing that like there was this overarching picture of how you can organize stuff. I mean, for somebody, like myself, who's very logical based thinking, I was like, that's it. Like if I'm not going to learn everything in one day, but knowing that someday, like that can be your, reality, like you be experienced and all that, like that kind of gives me something to look forward to. Like as you're stuck in the day-to-day kind of grind of like, oh, why am I learning this stupid like drill like one more time? Like, oh my God, like I just want to live roll. I just want to like, beat people up. Like it makes those little bits of like why you're doing stuff, like having that big overarching picture, that why like really like just kind of resonated with me a lot.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm also very like logically minded as well. And sometimes that I think hinders my jiu-jitsu progress a little bit because I'm not so creative. My partner is super creative when he trains jiu-jitsu, and I think he understood the basic concepts and principles a lot earlier than I did, whereas I'm like, but I can't do that sweep because I didn't have that grip, and I'm very like methodical in that way, and it's like like letting go of that is really difficult for me. I actually and I think about this all the time. I think of it like you have a torch, right? And you go into a dark room and you're a white belt and you've got the shittest torch ever and you can hardly see anything. And then as you get your blue belt, you're like, your torch is a bit brighter and you can see a bit more of what's in the room. Obviously, a black belt has the light is on, you know, like, and that's kind of like a flowcharty type thing. You can see where everything, that's how my brain works anyway.
No, I love that analogy where, you just, like, people talk, you know, like the spazzy white belt. Well, it's like, I don't know where the hell I'm going. Like, you're grabbing
blind,
onto me,
man.
I have no moves. I have no, like, we just learned this one move and did like 3 reps with it. Like, I already forgot that. Like, like we didn't start with takedown. So now I'm on my feet and I'm like, where do I go?
Like, hang on, what am I doing up here? It's so cool to know that most people have a similar experience, though, you know what I mean? And as you do jiu-jitsu for longer and you are paired with the new people coming in and stuff and you see yourself in them, you know, it's like, especially with like a live round or a roll, and you know, high five, fist bump, and then as soon as it's go, they're on, they're grabbing things and they're moving and you're like, wow. And they get confused when you don't move. They're like, it started. I'm like, I know, I started.
Are we okay? Are you okay? Did I hurt you? Oh my gosh. Why are we not moving?
I know. So good. Oh, that's awesome. So you've had a pretty good, I guess, journey already through jiu-jitsu. Like, so cool. And now having your coach there with you as well, like having that support must just be so good.
I feel very blessed. I don't take it ever want to take it for granted. And then in the past, previously leading up to Will relocating here, I would send Josh Vogel all of my kind of roles. I would upload them to YouTube unlisted, send him all of the videos, and then I would try to articulate what like happened, what I think went wrong, you know, and he just has a way of explaining things very simply and giving me some pointers to work on that are just very like, you know, a 5th grader could understand. Like, you know, we're not using technical language. We're not like, because I still have to use like anatomy mnemonics to figure out like, is this an Americana? Is this a Kimura? Like, I know I internally or externally rotated the damn shoulder, but like, I'm like, okay, which one is it?
I love that. And like, honestly, finding a coach that you can resonate with and who has a similar, or you're able to communicate with, I think is just so valuable, you know. That's really cool. So are you planning on, did I see something on Instagram recently where you're thinking about competing? Is that right?
I am competing, or at least I signed up. So hopefully, you know,
nice.
people will sign up. So their Grappling Industries has the Arnold, you know, they're hosting the no-gi and gi at the Arnold in March. So that I signed up for no-gi. We will see what happens in the Masters division.
That's exciting.
Finally going to get it out of the way.
Hopefully you get a couple of matches would be nice, you know. I don't know what the Masters division is like, how like populated it is, but hopefully there's some people for you.
I mean, if not, hopefully, like, I mean, worst case scenario, I would have to jump into the open class or like punch up a weight class, but something like, you know, I just don't want to have to pay the entry fee and then be like, oh yeah, nobody's around. Here's your, you know, consolation prize. So
yeah, definitely. Well done. That's very exciting, and I think very brave as well. I can't wait to see it. It's in March. I'll be looking out.
Me too. Yeah, it'll be information if anything. I just I've always been competitive, whether it's, you know, I had a Subaru STI and it wasn't enough to like, you know, show up at car events. Like I had to take it to the autocross track, or I had to take it to a track and see how I compared to other people. It didn't matter, you know, powerlifting. I wanted to like, there's something to be said about being in competition, like that whole mindset and that environment and whatnot, that is a completely different than even your hardest role in class. Like like it's just different.
Oh, for sure, because you just never know in class. Like you can't, I feel like you can't really be certain that they were trying to beat you.
Right.
But in competition, they're trying to beat you.
Exactly. So I always appreciate, the when I roll with Mike and Will, and I know that it can like take, turn it up a notch, turn it down a notch, because they're obviously bigger, faster, stronger than I am. But it'll be something to be said when, somebody is like really trying to like win. Like at the end of the day, you've got to, put it all out there so you can, get the sub or win on points.
That's exciting. So it kind of leads me on to a question that I didn't have written down, but I'm going to ask anyway. Yeah. Training jiu-jitsu, as you said, you were 4'11"?
Yes.
Yeah. You're a short gal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how you go, like training as that smaller person with, I'm assuming most of the people are probably taller than you in your class.
Yes. So I think I've come across maybe about 1 or 2 people that are like not 4'11", but like 5'1", 5'3" kind of range. But definitely, I haven't come across somebody where I'm the taller person, so to speak.
Yeah. And do you have any like tips for any other girls out there who might be on the smaller side or on the shorter side, and on how to keep yourself safe, I guess, is probably the most important thing?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I didn't learn early on that I wish somebody would have said something to me was like, it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no. It's okay to pass along, a role. Also keep in mind at like how people behave during class. I remember watching, we were drilling something completely different, and I looked over and some random person was like trying to heel hook, some random white belt was trying to heel hook another random white belt. And I'm like, what are we doing over here? Like, that's not even close to what we're doing. Like, that's not somebody I want to roll with. Okay. Like, and just, I think also being very vocal about like if you're having any injuries or you're feeling really tired. I tell people all the time, like especially in a mesocycle with lifting, hey, I'm feeling really beat up today. I'm probably just gonna flow, take it really easy. Like, I'm not going to try and beat you at stuff, but like, I really want to get the movements down. And it seems to work,
sure.
well. Or if I have an injury, I've had people say, hey, can we practice on the other side? Like practice this takedown on the other side. And I also think that being in a gym where that kind of environment is encouraged and that kind of dialogue is encouraged, because not all gyms are the same. Some gyms, everybody's trying to beat each other up, and like you kind of, that's all fine and dandy, but maybe that's not, the gym that I would like to go to. So I always also ask the owner, like, what is your take on injuries? What is your take on, rolling live? Like, are you okay with people saying no or passing things up? Like straight up ask them. And like, what's your training philosophy? Do you actually appreciate people backing off? When they're feeling tired or what? And you'd be surprised. People really are pretty receptive and will happy to answer your questions. Remember, you're paying them for a day pass or a pass. Like, you are giving them business. So if that is not, your money, like that is your money, and is wherever you want to spend it is up to you. So feel like you have, it is within your right and within your power to voice, these are my concerns. How can you help me? And if not, no worries. I'm going to just, kind of move on.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's so important to know as well. Just the general communication. Like, yes, it's a combat sport and it's a martial art, whatever, but that doesn't mean that we have to put ourselves into unsafe situations when we're just trying to learn it. I don't believe, So we sort of do a similar, like I have the best gym. Like I'm probably biased, of course, but like I trust everyone in that gym to roll with. And like there's some bigger men in there than me, and I trust them all because everyone just there to have a good time and to learn,
Yeah.
and we're not trying to prove anything to anyone, and we don't want to hurt each other, because like you can't do jiu-jitsu without a training partner, so you
Right.
need to look after them.
Right. Yeah. The other thing too is like, and I've also kind of voiced this to my training partners as well. Like, I'll get to a position really quickly, but like, I guess maybe just as a physician, as somebody who does manual medicine, I'm very careful about like getting to the end range of the like submission, and like, we'll just kind of look over and be like, how far can we go? And we've played around with it. Like,
Yeah.
I've had, like, oh, you can actually like, kind of isolate this a little bit more, or play here, kind of put your arm up just so you can get the feel, but you're not like cranking at people's
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
Yeah,
so
100%. I'm exactly the same. I'll get
yeah.
to the submission, it's tight, and then I'm like the slowest ever.
Right. And I'm like,
Watching
am
their
I
face,
here?
like, are you okay?
How are we
Like,
doing here?
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't need to tap that badly. Like, if you're not gonna tap, I'm just gonna let go.
Yeah. And find something else, right? Like,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. Yeah, that's so good. I do have a couple of questions from the old Instagram community. So,
oh boy.
I guess those two kind of go together. Like, talking about balancing everything. So obviously you're a very busy lady as it is. So let's maybe just talk about balancing your strength and conditioning, your jiu-jitsu, and your recovery, because recovery, I think, is so underrated. I think people think they're overtraining, but really they're just not prioritizing their recovery. They're just under recovered. So any tips for anyone that you have around that? Would love to hear it.
So I don't believe in active recovery. Like in the traditional sense that like I see a lot of people doing recovery, but they're like, I'm going to go on like a 10-mile hike and like think that that's recovery. Like, no, I do things that are relaxing to me, both emotionally, spiritually, and physically. So I will sit on the couch. I will binge watch my favorite, TV show, because the other 5 days a week, I do 7 sessions of jujitsu a week. It's a lot. So, but so Mondays and Wednesdays are both technique at like 10 to 30% resistance. Where we're going slow, we're just making sure that things get refined. And then Tuesdays, Thursdays are Will cranks up the resistance a little bit more, and we go a little bit faster, a little bit more paced, but it's still the same things that we've been drilling for since, for months now.
Yeah.
And then Friday is round robin, where we'll do 4-minute rounds, between Will, Mike, and I. And that, beats us up. And then Tuesday, Thursday, I have a training partner who's female, who's about my weight, much taller than me as well. And we do like 6-minute rounds, where 5 to 6 minute rounds, where she's also a brown belt. She's super awesome. And depending on how beat up I am during the week, dictates how how much force or how much whatever, but just to kind of flow roll. And for me to practice like whatever I'm learning with Will and Mike.
Yeah.
And then I lift full body 3 days a week. I really had to be honest with myself and put my ego aside, because I did come from sort of a bodybuilding style training. I really had to put that sword down. So instead of 6 days a week, bodybuilding split, we went down to 5 days, and then 4 days, and that was still too much. And 3 days seems to be kind of the sweet spot where I can get things done, and then still survive on a mat.
100%. That's so important. And I try to get that point across to my clients as well. I'm like, honestly, 2 to 3 days, depending on how much jiu-jitsu you've got, is going to be plenty for you to hit the intensities that you need to hit to ensure that we're progressing and still recovering between. Otherwise, you're just going to be dragging your ass through the gym door, doing a half-assed job, but getting in the way of your recovery. So it's great to hear you say that.
Yeah. And and then Saturday, Sunday, I take it very easy in the sense I don't do anything. So I keep my steps at about 8,000 a day. Anything more than that, and I just get like super tired and with no real benefit.
Yeah.
So, keep that real simple. I don't do anything else that's super fancy, but I think being really honest with yourself, and also I'm not going hard. Like, yes, I have 7 sessions of jujitsu, but not all of it is like live roll, beat each other up kind of thing. Like, there's a graded, intensity, depending on which day it is. So, having some sort of systemic approach to the fact that like you only have this, X amount of energy in a day, and you have to be very smart and strategic with where you choose to put that. So,
100%. That's such a mature way to look at things, honestly, because like I think it's especially just generally in the fitness industry and for some reason just hustle culture lately, and it's like you just need to be doing more and more. And we're like, no, I'm not getting up at 4 a.m. I'm sorry, I'm not a 4 a.m. gal. I'm sleeping in. Thank you very much. That's why I work for myself. And like, but also just learning what your current capacity is, and what works for you for recovery. And it might be sitting on the couch. For me, honestly, I was saying this to like the girls yesterday in a call.
Yeah.
Lately, it makes me feel like I've had 8 hours of sleep. If I sit on the couch for a few hours and watch the trashiest TV that I can find, sometimes even with a beer and a pizza, oh my God, like 2 or 3 hours of that, and I feel so refreshed. It's like my brain actually shuts down and like reboots. It's amazing. Yeah.
Right.
So good. So I'm definitely getting around the couch time.
Yeah. No, and especially as I'm older, I definitely wouldn't have said that in my 20s or 30s. I would have been like, let's go ham, like let's, 2 a day or like some sort of wild thing. But I think especially after I hit 40, so I'm 42, being way more mindful of like being honest about what I can do and what I can recover from is super important, because I'm here to last. Like, I understand jujitsu, like, we always joke around like that's the sport where powerlifters sort of go to die, so to speak. Like, I still want to be around as a masters athlete, it doesn't mean I have to like come in broken. So,
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's honestly so important to learn. And I'm the same. 20s and 30s, I would have been like, no, I'm fine. I'll just, just push through. But now I'm like, maybe I won't push through.
Exactly.
Yeah, super important. The other 2 questions I had were around the GLP1's, which I am definitely not educated at all on, but I believe it's like Ozempic.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Ozempic is one of them. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So GLP1's is like the drug name, and then there's like drugs under them.
Right. So the GLP-1 agonist is like the class of drugs, and then you have quite a few. You have Byetta, you have liraglutide, you have Saxenda, you have Ozempic, which is semaglutide, and the other one that gets really talked about, but it's in a slightly different class, is Mounjaro or tirzepatide, Zepbound. That is both a GLP-1 agonist as well as a GIP agonist, but it's in all essence the same. So has a similar but better effect.
Okay, cool. And just because I'm sure there's other people out there that have no idea what we're talking about, I'm under the understanding that they were originally to treat type 1 diabetes, and then it was found that they also had a helpful effect on fat loss, which I suppose in turn obviously helps type 1 diabetes. Is that correct?
Type 2, but yes.
Of course, type 2. Sorry, yeah.
Type 1, you don't have any insulin, so we just give you insulin, and you're like, cool.
That was my bad.
No, all good.
The dietary
one. Type 2 is you have some insulin, but it's like not, like, for whatever reason, not like working as well. So it's sort of like not, the signals just not getting there. So these drugs have been on the market for type 2 diabetes at least in the United States since 2005. So we've been using these drugs for type 2 diabetics for almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
Uh, the first GLP-1 agonist that got approved for weight management was actually in 2014, liraglutide, or also known as Saxenda. Some of the problems with the reason why it hasn't gotten like sort of the hype that Ozempic has gotten is like one, social media, TikTok wasn't around back then, and then also a lot of the studies for weight loss just weren't that impressive in comparison. And then also like a big barrier to this was the earlier medications either had a twice a day injection or a once a day injection. So not really fun. Like,
yeah, that's not a good time.
So with semaglutide, they had, finally got the formulation down. So it lasts a week. So you only have to inject yourself once. And they also came out with an oral form, Rybelsus. So you could take the pill once a day. So, and a weight loss with that was just so kind of, oh, wow. And then on top of that, you have social media, kind of at our fingertips. So
yeah, so
all of that combined.
Yeah, it was like that nice everything at the right time kind of happened. Yeah. Okay, cool. So the questions around it was one of them was microdosing for someone that's not looking to lose weight but to stop food noise.
Yeah, I have gotten a whole lot of questions about microdosing. Not the first one. They haven't really studied the microdosing to the extent, we haven't really done firm, research kind of with it. So I guess my question is, if the drug, especially for semaglutide, if the half-life is long enough such that, it lasts, a full week, I guess I'm just not quite sure where people would get a, huge benefit from microdosing every day versus taking a smaller dose at the beginning, once a week, right?
Yeah,
Because
okay.
they're all dose dependent, right? Like people, if you still have food noise, to the point where like you are unable to maintain your weight, there's levels to this. You don't have to jump to the full dose. And I think I've seen that a lot with people who are struggling with their weight, but then end up, if you don't have a comprehensive, program with, nutrition on board, with, training on board, like some sort of structured exercise program. What I have seen is some people just sort of, try and take the max dose possible. They eat as little as possible. They don't exercise. And then they end up like complaining that like, either, I have these serious side effects, the drug sucks, don't ever take it, or, I'm going to lose all my muscle. Like, I don't want an Ozempic butt, don't take it. This drug sucks.
Ozempic butt.
Yes.
Didn't know that was a thing.
Ozempic butt and Ozempic face are like the things that like the headlines have sort of come out with. And really the research, like if you, monitor your rate of weight loss, you take structured weight loss breaks, like you're not always trying to be in a caloric deficit.
Yeah.
You keep your protein intake high and you lift weights. You're going to be in good shape. You're going to be in really good shape. So,
which is great advice for anyone not on Ozempic or any of them as well, right?
Exactly. And I think that's one thing that the medical community sometimes gets a little kind of mixed up. And I really think that, we as physicians can really take note of what's going on in like the fitness space. What I'm really glad to sort of be on the periphery of that during my medical training, because we think all sorts of wild things about nutrition that I'm just like, I have to argue about like, calories and like, it just, yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot.
It would definitely be a lot for someone in your position for sure. Just be like, no, that's anyways. And the other question around the GLP-1s was transitioning off it and how to approach it.
Yeah, I think a great question. So I've seen the research in that a lot of people, not everybody, a good number of people gain some of the weight back, according to research. Yeah. I think having an honest conversation about expectations is important, that might be a case. I always like to give people sort of the worst case scenario and kind of talk them through it, just so they're not surprised or blindsided by things. So the food noise may come back. What you have gotten, with your diet, your training, your willpower, your discipline, like if you have that true food noise in your head, it is pervasive. It like can affect your quality of life. It can affect day-to-day functioning. I get it. As somebody who is also on it, I wouldn't be able to do all the things that I would do if I wasn't, medicated. So
yeah,
I get it. But if somebody really wants to give it a shot and think about that, I say go for it and see what happens. Be in a maintenance, get your, self to a good spot with maintenance, and then really talk about the pros and cons and potential things down the line of what could happen if you come off of it, and then go from there. I'm always all for people, having that choice and really making that decision, but just know that there may be some weight gain back, and that's okay. Like that's not a failure on your part if that does happen.
And just being prepared, I suppose, understanding, I like that. Start with the worst case scenario. And I guess maybe making sure that they have been making an effort to change some habits that they had, or making sure that training and nutrition habits are actually real habits now. Would that be something that would be helpful, do you think?
Definitely be helpful. For some people, there are receptors in our brain that, where the drug interacts with that helps with satiety. So even if you are the most diligent person, you drink your water, sip every water, you chew 30 times until it is like, slowly chew it, make sure you pray before, every meal, all those, and I feel like, having to explain that to somebody, it just, sometimes it's really hard. Like I remember before, when I first was on the medication, I remember going out to dinner with Mike, and we were in San Diego, and realizing for the first time in your life that you can actually leave a couple of bites of food on the table. I could leave my glass of wine, like I didn't have to chug it, or like it's like and I could actually enjoy a conversation with my husband without like feeling like, oh my God, I can't wait for this food to arrive. I'm so starving, but like, I want to be present. Like, oh my God. And then when the food arrives, you're too busy shoveling the food down your gullet because you're so hungry and you're still so desperately out of control. But like now I can, I've made good choices. I have a steak with broccoli, and some mashed potatoes and a glass of wine. And like, I'm not going to eat all of this, and it's okay, but I'm going to eat most of it. I'm going to eat the vegetables. I'm going to eat the steak. I'm gonna have the mashed potatoes, and I'm not gonna worry about it because I don't have this like ravenous beast that's like in the back of my brain, like, just get some food, get some food.
Yeah. Wow. That's I mean, like I said, I didn't know anything about it at all. So that's all very interesting for me. Educational. It's great.
We'll see. Right now, it is on the WADA monitoring list, so it is not a banned substance. But it will be. I understand that jiu-jitsu is a weight-based sport. There's weight categories to it, so I do understand that. We'll see where WADA decides to take it, whether they decide to put it on the banned list or not. So
yeah, that will be interesting. Actually, I hadn't sort of considered that side of things. Yeah.
But I mean, like with anything, if it makes it easier, like, yes, you can cut weight. Yes, you can diet down, but is that weight class ready? Are you going to be that strong, much stronger at a lower weight? Because it doesn't help with, strength. It's not like taking steroids or anything like that. It doesn't really help you recover. If anything, it'll make things worse, because if you, crank up, things that can happen is like you forget to eat, or you're just not hungry. So then
you haven't got enough energy.
Yeah, exactly. You're, going to be deficient in micronutrients and whatnot.
Very interesting. It sounds very, very nuanced, depending on the individual. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, before we finish up, have you got anything coming up that you want to share at all, or anything exciting on the horizon?
Other than the Arnold, so I guess we have a bodybuilding anatomy book coming out. A little bit of a different, flavor than jujitsu, but I mean, anatomy is anatomy. So, taking people through exercises and kind of, laying out which muscle groups are involved and how to, execute with good technique and form. Because I think at the end of the day, training with full range of motion and really emphasizing, the stretch has been actually really helpful for my joints in jujitsu. So even though it says bodybuilding, I think there are some things that people can take from different sports.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree on that. That's cool. What's the book called?
Bodybuilding Anatomy. I think it's going to be the third edition. It's either coming out in December or January, I believe, through Human Connect.
Very cool. That's awesome. And where can people find you if they don't already follow you?
On Instagram, dr.christle, CHRISTLE.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. That was awesome. I think people are going to get a lot out of this episode, and it was lovely to meet you.
Oh, so awesome to meet you.
Thank you very much for joining us today, guys. And as always, my DMs are always open at Coach Roxy or at _ready to roll. If you ever have any requests for guests or you would like to be on the podcast yourself, send me a DM and I look forward to hosting you.